All right, I think we're back. Sorry about that. Ben and I had a great conversation offline here, and thank you so much. And I'm sorry. Technology is a wonderful thing, right? When it works. And I thank folks for hustling to get us back online. So let me, before I go to Ellen, who's with us, I know has a question, we had a tweet come in asking, what if I have private loans? And that's a very important point, because under our plan to lower interest rates, it's public or private. And in fact, private loans are usually much higher interest rates at this point. So we want to lock it in at 3.86%, which was the 2013 level. We're going to lock it in there for undergrads. And it doesn't matter how long you've had the loan, doesn't matter if it's public or private. You would be able to refinance at the lower interest rate, which I think is very important. So thanks very much for the tweet. Ellen Lindbaum, thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Senator, for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me where you are.
I am coming to you from Northern Michigan University in Marquette.
Yay! Now, did you go to the dog races this last weekend? That's what I really want to know.
Yeah, I did not. It was very, very cold out. I think it was like -25 with the wind chill, so I decided to stay indoors.
So you're a very smart person. No. Oh, well, yeah. So tell me about your situation and your question.
Okay. Well, I am also the oldest daughter of 3, and I have 2 younger brothers. So that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, I'm just like the senator. And my parents are both teachers, and when I started college in 2009, I did not receive any assistance other than loans because my family made too much money. And actually piggybacking off what Brandon said, I just got the Pell Grant this year for the first time because now I'm like 25 and considered an independent from my parents. But I had never received it before, and now college is like great because I get it all mostly paid for. But my question is, as an older student, somebody who left school and came back a couple times because I couldn't really afford the tuition, other than refinancing our loans, have there been any discussions with the other senators who are involved in writing this legislation and the steps that are going to hopefully come after this first installment of student debt reform? Is there any types of relief that you're looking at giving students who already have tons of loans who won't be able to probably benefit from these programs if they're like me and leaving school soon?
Sure. Are you at interest rates where it would help you to refinance? Because even though you already have debt, I mean, that is something that you can refinance under those proposals. So I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying that that's, or I'm not complaining about that at all.
No. But
I was just curious if you guys have, talked about any kinds of programs to help students get their debt relieved or.
Absolutely. Well, there are a few years ago when President Obama first came into office, when we actually changed from a type of student loan that went through the bank, where banks are being subsidized, and then it went to students, to direct student loans, and that saved about $8 billion that we put into strengthening Pell Grants. But then at the time, we also added debt forgiveness. So if you're in a public service job, so some kind of public service, a nurse or social worker or law enforcement, other public service, after 10 years, there is a debt forgiveness. If we're particularly serving in underserved areas, if you were serving up in the UP, for instance, there are certain debt forgiveness programs already that I think we ought to expand. It's not part of this proposal in the red, but it's definitely part of what we've been talking about, is how do we expand loan forgiveness for folks going forward, and how do we also, again, expand Pell Grants, because if you're now qualifying for Pell Grants. We want at least them going up every year, not down. But how do we do even more in that area as well? So there's a lot of discussion going on. Would welcome your ideas about that as well. One of the most important things right now, I think, for us is to make this a top priority for everyone. You know, it's divided right now with all the Democrats talking about the need to bring down college loans to be debt-free college and so on, and Republicans not joining us. We need to. It needs to be bipartisan. We need to have people hearing from their constituents, from yourself, your family, and others, saying, "Wait a minute, you know, this is not some partisan political issue. This is about the future of the country. Doesn't matter who you are. You go to college, and you're probably going to come out with student loan debt. Most people, not everybody, but most people. And the average in Michigan is about $30,000. But we know it can be much, much more. So we've got part of what we want to do through In the Red is galvanize people to make this a top priority. We're not going to have a middle class. We're not going to have opportunities for people or be able to drive the economy and compete in a global economy if people can't get the skills they want and need and do that in a way that doesn't kill them with debt. I mean, you know, we're in a situation, as we all know, where folks are walking out with mounds of debt, and then you're buried and you're trying to get out of debt rather than moving on with your life and doing the things you want to do. So we need to make this a central issue. It's fixable if people want to fix it, and that's what the In the Red campaign's about.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. All right, I have an email. Community college, someone emailed, will the 2 years of free community college apply to any degree? Yes, actually there's two kinds of things. First of all, tuition-free community college, and then also other kinds of job training that is done that is important in terms of the needs in the workplace, of the economy, and so on. And so it's job training, job skills that are critically important, and it's community college, and it's structured in a way too that you have to be able to have the credits transferable to a university if that's what you want. So it needs to be something that you can either do as a 2-year degree or you can transfer it on to a university. All right, I'm going to Jacob Littlejohn. Hi, welcome.
Hello, how are you doing? Thank you.
I'm doing good. Good. So where are you?
I am attending Saginaw Valley State University, so that's
I know right where it is. Not too far from Clare, where I grew up.
Not too far, not too far.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw Saginaw Valley out in the middle of a big field, and now it's grown so much. It's amazing.
It definitely has.
Yeah.
My question is kind of regarding tuition itself, and specifically like in the state of Michigan. You know, in doing research for this, I was looking at the College Board, and according to the College Board, tuition alone, the average cost in the United States is $9,410 a year for just tuition. Michigan is the 6th most expensive state, and our average stands at roughly $12,000 a year. What factors, in your opinion, contribute to us being so much higher than the rest of the country?
You know, thank you, Jacob. And you know, I think the number one issue really is the lack of state investment, state funding. We have seen over the years a dramatic shift in the priorities of the state. And back just a few years ago, 2011, there was a 15% cut in funding that went to our community colleges and universities. And there have been cuts now. This year, the governor is proposing, I don't know if they've passed it yet, but the governor's proposing an increase for community colleges and universities that, as I understand it, would put us back to where we were in 2011 before the cuts. And so what happens when the state doesn't make higher education a priority, that gets shifted onto you. And there's certainly, I'm sure, areas where the universities and community colleges need to do a better job as well on what they're doing in terms of their piece of this. But I really think it's undeniable that the biggest challenge has been the cuts at the state level. And every time the state cuts, you guys pick it up as the burden. And it's just gotten way, way beyond control. And it's really unfortunate because we have great universities in Michigan. We have great community colleges. And they're scrambling, with private donations and endowments and scrambling in a lot of different ways. And still, we have great institutions. I would argue in Michigan, more than most any other state. But you have to have that fundamental support coming from state government. And in a state where we are so reliant on people having skills to be able to get the jobs that are available and move the economy, I don't understand it. So I would just encourage you. I think this is not only about passing student loan reform and in the red efforts to have debt-free college. It also has to be a very important push at the state level to fund higher education at a level where we used to.
Well, thank you very much. That really that thoroughly answered my question. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, I have another email on refinancing. Can I refinance if I go to college out of state or to a private school? Yes. Yes. I mean, this is something that would be national policy for students going to public or private school. And because it's national student loans, it would apply to whatever school that you go to. So, although we want everybody in Michigan, and if you go to school out of state, we want you to come back to Michigan. So that's why creating jobs and the other things that need to be done are so very important as well. So let me now turn to Chuck. Chuck Mahone, where are you? Hi, Chuck.
Right
how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
It's great to
tell
see
me
you
where
again,
you
Sarah.
are. Tell me where you are.
I am technically, right now I'm in transit from my internship in Lansing back to Mount Pleasant, but I go to CMU, and so I'm happy to be here. And so, very briefly, my story, I'm a first-generation college student like so many of us, and I knew that I would leave school with a mountain of debt. And really, my saving grace has been able to find connections that have helped me find opportunities to lessen that burden. And
Yes.
the biggest one has been I was able to serve 2 terms. Well, currently, I guess, still serving my 2nd term as student body president at CMU. That helps pay for a piece of my tuition. So that is what really helped me. But I'm still going to be leaving with around $24,000 of student debt.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It is a lot. I'm not looking forward to paying it. But my question for you, actually, and you touched on it briefly. In the last debate, Hillary was speaking about how she doesn't see governors such as Scott Walker pitching in to help with higher education. Well, our own governor, Governor Snyder, like you said, cut 15% back in 2011, and we're just now getting back to those levels. Do you see him pitching in to your program and helping the state move forward? I saw on your program that for every $1 state dollar that's donated, $3 federal dollars will be donated. I think that would be excellent, but really need that state buy-in. How do you think we can get that?
Well, that's a really good question because we are requiring, in order to have tuition-free community college, that the federal government would put in $3 and the state would put in $1. It's my hope, it's our hope in designing this, that the state would see what a great deal that is for our people, for our citizens, and would do it. Now, if a state chose not to, then I think we would have to galvanize everybody in Michigan to really push hard to make that happen. Now, hopefully, a 3-to-1 match to help citizens be able to go to college at tuition-free would be something that would be appealing to any governor. That would be the hope. If it's not, then we'll have to, figure out some other way to do this at this point. But it is important that the states are a part of this, and also that they not cut current funding. And one of the things in the proposal is that they would not be able to reduce what they're currently doing in order to come up with that dollar. So they would have to maintain their current funding and then add to it with an additional dollar. And I really think it's, as I said before, incredibly important that I see voices all over Michigan saying that higher education needs to be a priority every year. Now it seems to be, there's an increase proposed this year. That's great, but that's after multiple years of cuts and huge shifts. As I said, I was really shocked when I looked at, from back in the 70s when I was in school to now. I mean, from 1979, state government was paying 70% of the cost. Now it's around 20 something. Now there's a lot of shifts. I'm sure there's multiple ways you can talk about that, but part of this is just the shift in terms of priorities and funding. So it's really important. Everybody talks about education, not just higher education, but K-12, what's happening in our schools for children. Everybody says it's important. Well, we need to act like it's important and make sure that we are making it a top priority when it comes to how we invest the money that we have together, public dollars. It's really important that we make it a priority.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And by the way, when I was going down to go to Michigan State from Clare, Central Michigan University was about 15 minutes from my house. It was the big city when I was growing up in Clare. It's where we go on Friday night.
City.
We went on Friday night, to listen to good music or something. And but most of my friends went to CMU, and so I was going to be different. So I went down to Michigan State. But I have a lot of good memories there, and it's grown like crazy since the time that I was in Clare. It's amazing, actually. Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm here, and at the moment that we have run out of time here, so we will do this again. I appreciate everybody being a part of it. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we will do this again on other subjects as well. Please follow follow us on Twitter, #InTheRed. We'll have a bill number very soon. We would love to have you involved. We're going to be doing petition drives and so on, and your voice does matter. If you want to share your story with us, if you're willing to let me share it on the Senate floor, I'd love it. If you want to just share it with me and say, don't share this, that's fine too. But the more we can make this personal and real, which it is for everybody, the better chance we have of actually getting something done. So please engage on this and share information, and we're going to fight like crazy until we can do something really meaningful to bring these costs down. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.